go.
What's my 2013 again?
I don't know.
Sorry.
3, 2, 1, go.
What a list.
What
a
a decade.
Wow.
We are closing. This decade's ending. Never to return
It's so
to it.
weird. I remember when last decade ended.
I'm Mike Murphy, by the way.
Oh, I'm Nick Murphy, by the way. Hi,
We're the Brothers Murph. Subscribe now.
I remember seeing all those like end of the decades, like 10 best movies come out of the decade. You're always like, man, that's a whole decade.
Yeah.
It's been a decade since that decade, and we got to talk about some games, Mike. There were a couple games that came out in the 2010s. At least
a couple of note.
20, because we're talking about 20 tonight.
Yes, we are.
So, we're going to talk about our top 10 games, each of our top 10 games of the decade, the whole decade. So how are we doing this, Mikey?
We are going to go through this year by year. So we could only choose one, and I'll tell you some years were very difficult.
Can I talk about how much this list sucked to make?
It's so hard that we're literally doing a follow-up series where we go into each year specifically and talk more about it so we can talk about more games that are not going to appear on this list because some of the years were so packed. So we each get to choose one game from every year, starting with 2010, ending in 2019.
Some years were easier than others.
What were the best damn games of the decade?
Yes, indeed.
That's what we're dealing with today.
Indeed. All the way up through this year. It's going to be wild.
Yes, so please, as you watch this, reflect on the decade. Think about what games you've really enjoyed, what has been the highlights, whether or not you started the hobby in this decade, whether or not you'd already been in it when the decade began. Reflect back and put your thoughts in the comments below. And please, 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 it's the end of the decade, so one chance we have to do this. Please share this video around now so that we can start watching together and let's all have a sweet, sweet rewind.
And hit that subscription while you're at it. But we'll go ahead and get in it, Mikey. God, 2010. Who was even alive back then?
There was nothing going on back then. I don't think board games, I think it was still only Mousetrap back then.
Mostly Mousetrap.
Let's find out what was going on in 2010 for us in board games.
So 2010, Nick was fresh out of high school, had no path in his life, not much has changed. And I was getting close to a very beginning start of the hobby. It was probably 2011 or so is when I first played.
First dip of the toe.
Yeah, when I first dipped in with a little pandemic with my girlfriend at the time. But so 2010, I did not play this game in 2010, but my favorite game of 2010 is Onirim.
Yes.
Onirim or Onirim or Onirim, whatever. Onirim, which is actually a solo game.
Yep.
And this is a game that I played exclusively on the app, mostly because we couldn't find it anywhere in stores. But this is
weirdly out of print for a while.
Yeah, it's a solo-only game. It's a small little game, and it's really fun. Yeah, it's a little card game. Great app, great game. But we eventually got the physical game, and I actually enjoy playing it physical more because it's just very cathartic, because it's a game where you are essentially trying to, you're in the middle of a dream, and you're trying to unlock these different doors in that dream.
To sort of escape your nightmare.
Yes, and you have different colors of cards. You have blue, green, red, and white, exactly.
Cream.
And these cards will have different symbols on them. So it'll be like a swirly or,
a moon or a sun.
Yeah, moon or a sun. And like that. And you basically have to go like moon, sun. You always have to change the symbol each time. You can't put the same symbol out there twice.
Yeah.
So once you go like 3 cards of the same color in a row that have differing symbols, so moon, sun, moon, or something like that, you then get to unlock that door. But there's nightmares that come up, so when you draw a nightmare, you have to do a couple different things. You can either discard all the cards in your hand, you can discard blindly off the deck, you can discard one of the doors you've already gotten, and basically, once you run out of cards, the game ends. And it's very difficult, but it's very fun because anytime like a nightmare comes out, or anytime you have to like go through the deck to find a door because you've made one, you have to shuffle. You have to boom, shuffle the deck, and it's a lot of shuffling, and it's just cathartic. You're like, boom, okay, boom, and it's fun, it's cathartic. I really, really enjoy it. I love it in the app. I like it even more physically. I love Onirim.
I've actually never played the physical version, mostly because you have it with you most of the time.
That's true, I usually have it,
I love the app so much. I played it so much. It is absolutely fantastic. The app is beautiful, as are the cards.
The cards are gorgeous,
the actual game. It's a beautiful, the Oniverse. There's several games that kind of exist in this universe with the art and stuff. It's beautiful. Simple, it is cathartic. I can see the physical shuffling the cards being very good.
Yes.
So that is Nick's number 10, Onirim. My number 10, or I guess 2010. It's really what it is. It's kind of not go in order.
It's kind of both, I know. You're
top 10 of a sort. So for me, 2010, the game that came out that I played later, obviously I wasn't in the hobby yet, But I played a lot of is another card game called Hanabi.
Yeah.
It's a cooperative card game where you are trying to put on a really bomb fireworks show. And the way you do this is you have cards, except for you're holding the cards backside toward you. I cannot see my cards. I can see everyone else's cards. And we have to give clues to each other about what we have in our hands. We can't just be super explicit. We can give either an instruction about color or an instruction about number. Yeah. And if there's several cards that have the same number but different colors, I cannot specify blue, green, blue. Yeah. I just have to say this, this, and this are a 4.
Yeah.
Or this and this are blue.
Yeah.
And from there you can kind of infer what's going on.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of weighing your time. You only have a certain amount of clues you can give before you need to start discarding cards to get time back. So if we know he played this one card, there's a bunch of 1s. We already played a red 1. We don't need to play that again. I can discard it to get more time, but I need to know that that's a red 1 and not the blue 4, which is absolutely crucial to success still. So it's a really fun game of kind of communicating in code a little bit to try to get your friends to pick up on what you're putting down.
Yeah.
And I played a ton of it at work. I really love it with a particular buddy of mine, Zach.
Yeah.
We had this whole second and third language going. That was so fun.
Wild.
So 2010 was Hanabi. Game I've gotten a ton of mileage out of.
Yeah.
And would happily play with him again. So Hanabi is, and Onirim are our games of 2010.
Best games of the year.
Let's get into
Prove us wrong.
2011.
All right, 2011. 2011's already got some bangers in it, dude. 2011 was already tough. We're gonna say that sentence a lot, I feel like.
It gets worse and worse as the decade goes on. But for me, 2011, it's one of the best games ever made. It's Castles of Burgundy. It has to be. Now, I didn't play it for a very, very long time after that. It was already a classic, had been a classic by the time I got to it, and I played it, and I know absolutely why it's a classic. It's Stefan Feld's, it's one of his the Monuments games, the Mount Rushmore games.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It'd be George Washington to be the biggest head on the mountain.
Yeah, this would, for sure.
So anyway, Castle Burgundy is a fun game where it's all about rolling dice out and kind of manipulating those dice to do different actions, which is going to be getting tiles, placing tiles into your estate, shipping off goods for points. It's a point salad kind of goodness. The different types of tiles like animals and buildings and mines and castles and ships all score and do different things. You can use workers to manipulate those dice. There's just so much going on. It's beautiful. It's one of the best games of all time.
Yeah.
Castles of Burgundy,
Wait, you say it's
Euro.
beautiful?
Huh?
You say it's beautiful?
It's a beautiful game.
In terms of mechanics?
In terms of all of it.
Nah.
It's part of it, Nick, is the look. The aesthetics are part of it, but it is a beautiful game more so than it is looking.
Yes, that's
I care about the insides just a little bit, Nick. Forgive me for caring.
Yeah, I don't. Give them all outsides, baby.
Anyway, Castle Burgundy, the game of 2011 for me, and I'd say for everyone.
It's incredible. Yeah, I mean, it's the top game of the year.
Disagree with me if you dare.
Indeed. I disagree because I think the best game of that year is Dungeon Pits.
Dungeon
Pits is my favorite game of 2011. I don't know if I am this
2011. But Dungeon Pits.
Dungeon Pits. Those little imps just got that voice. So Dungeon Pets is a game that is not ugly. It's very pretty and it's very cute. But it's a big, heavy game.
Worker placement.
Big worker
Imp
placement game. Yeah, imp placement, where you are essentially running a pet store and you are running your pet store to the best of your abilities and you are getting monsters from the main town and you are raising these monsters to eventually sell to dungeon lords. Dungeon lords will all want different things. Some of them might want a really mean pet. Some of them might want a pet that eats and poops a lot, really. And, awesome. If you're a farmer, you need fertilization. You want to just a steady stream of eating and pooping. That's all you need, dude. And so you're essentially trying to get the pets that you think the dungeon lords will want, and then essentially trying to cater them specifically to a different dungeon lord so you can sell them for more points. But this is a big, crunchy game. There's so much going on. It is the epitome of I need to do 20 things and I can do 3 of them. Which ones do I need to do? Which ones do I need to prioritize? Because if Mike takes that space, I'm screwed.
Sorry.
So it just gets so hard, but the game has this really fun, cute theme on top of it that I really feel like alleviates some of the heaviness of the game, because the game can just get like...
You can make the game kind of a dry theme, and you would feel the weight of it.
Oh, God, you would. And this one, because you're like, oh, my God, I'm making poop 3 times to sell the farmer maggot or whatever.
It's just fun.
And it's just fun. And it's got the Back Alleys expansion, which we have, which didn't come out in 2011, but it's still a great little expansion. Dungeon Pets is by far my best game of 2011. I love this game. Always have, always will. I love it. It's the best. Dungeon Pets, 2011. a good year ultimately.
What a great year.
A good year. There's more. Again, check out the series where we go through each year and talk about the top 10 from that year. Because,
yeah.
oh my Lord, there's a lot of stuff.
So many games.
But let's get into 2012.
So, 2012. The year where it was all supposed to fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You know, we had the movie with John Cusack. Mayan calendar was coming to an end, and we just kept right on trudging.
London had the Olympics, you know?
Yeah, but for the better, because we got a lot more good games after 2012, but there were some really great ones in 2012. In fact, a game that we have played more than any other game.
Yep, still tops.
Any other game, we played it a bunch. It's going to be hard to ever take over. That is Legendary, a Marvel deck building game.
Yeah, Marvel Legendary. Oh,
It's just good.
Hard to beat.
You're basically superheroes teaming up.
Yeah.
You know, like all of the Marvel stuff was best when like people would team up together, especially if you had crossover episodes where what's Wolverine doing with Spider-Man?
Yeah.
And this game is all about that. It's just like we're going to have Doctor Strange, we're going to have Moon Knight, we're going to have Cable, we're going to have flipping Squirrel Girl probably now, and Deadpool, and they are going to be the ultimate team.
Yep,
you know, and you
the
just try to see
ultimate
like
team.
what happened if they face off against Magneto.
Yeah.
You know, and see if that combination of people can work. And it's just clean deck building.
Yeah.
You're recruiting
all it
heroes,
is.
and we're not like you're not Iron Man and I'm Captain America. We can all recruit all the different heroes. It might be better to specialize a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're trying to get different cards. You're basically going to build these really cool combos. This allows you to draw a card which boosts this attack card over here because it's that color and things like that. And you can just pull. You power up because you're a superhero, and you just wallop on the bad guy or the bad lady. And it's just so fun to play around with the combinations and create your own kind of comic book in your head.
Trillions and quadrillions of combinations you can make with this game. But
yeah.
we don't even have, we haven't
over
gotten
100
expansion
heroes.
in years, and
Yeah.
we still have trillions of possible combinations. It's bananas. It's just stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fun. We have like 4 Wolverines. You can play like a whole Wolverine team. You can play an all Captain America team.
We played an all Captain America team before,
on the 4th of July and won for freedom. So Legendary is a fantastic deck building game, cooperative. It's everything we kind of like love in games, and it makes sense why we played it so many times because it's just so much good stuff.
It's so much good stuff.
Anyway, that's my game of 2012, not to be beaten by anything else.
Indeed.
Even though there's some really good stuff.
My game of 2012 is already pretty high up in my top games of all time. It's probably going even higher because now there's a fancy, huge deluxe version coming out, and that is Suburbia. Suburbia is and it's one of those things like this is a game that like Pandemic is still in my top 5 favorite games. Sure. And I know that, don't get me wrong, I love Pandemic, but I know a lot of that is because that's the game that got me into the hobby.
Sure.
And there's
nostalgia is a powerful
elevates it because of that. Not that I don't like the game. I love the game, but it's like I know that that's one of the reasons why it elevates it.
Yeah.
Suburbia was the first like aside from Pandemic, the first like hobby board game, especially the first like Euro game I ever played.
Yep.
But this, I feel like, isn't elevated because of that. It's just, I legitimately just love Suburbia. And now we have the new Suburbia Collector's Edition. It's up on the shelf over there. It's beautiful.
Chef kisses to you.
Oh, gosh. And it is just so darn good. I love it. It's a city building game where you have hexagonal tiles that have a whole bunch of different stuff like
they all
food
combo
places,
in different
and
ways.
cemeteries. And this. And you put stuff next to this, it does good. If you have more airports, it does better.
You have a cemetery next to a school, it bums people out. It's going to hurt your reputation.
And so it's just the constant of putting stuff next to other stuff and trying to build the best city you can, of trying to get the highest population, have good reputation, and good income coming in. And it's a tough game. We have the expansion, so at this point, there's so many different tiles that you never know what's going to come out, and it's just incredible. I love it. I always have it. Always will. I freaking love Suburbia. It's my favorite game of 2012.
Yeah.
And
tiling is hard to beat. It literally is, especially when it combos all together. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. That's my game of 2012. I love it. I love it. But Marvel Legendary, also a banger. Yeah, Hanabi is garbage, but
I don't know about that. I mean, it was 2010. It was like a billion years ago.
I know,
I mean,
right?
you can forgive it a little bit. Anyway, that is 2012. Let's go ahead and go into 2013. All right. 2013, when games finally got good.
Finally.
My pick, it's sort of a cheat because it's really kind of be your pick anyway, but my pick is a beautiful 2-player, tight, excruciating game called Hanako Geo. It's a micro game where you are trying to, we've talked a lot about it, we are trying to trying to gain the favor of different geisha to come perform at your restaurant. So there's 7 geisha out there. If you get 4 of them to come to your restaurant by playing out cards and playing out the majority of their card out in front of you instead of in front of your opponent, they come to you. And it's this tug of war battle where I'm going to give up this one card over here, so I make sure I set up myself up for over here. And if you get into a second round, if after the first round, it's a very quick game, if after the first round no one has won, you leave everything where it is. Like the geisha that have signed on with a certain restaurant stay there until they're swayed otherwise. And so in the second round, all of a sudden it's like, do I try to steal what Nick has? Do I try to protect what I have? Do we go for something that didn't get moved in either way because it stayed neutral? Like that's when the game elevates. It has incredibly beautiful art. It's just there's only a few cards.
And it's a game I did not know came out in 2013 because the
been
game was
around.
originally from
It didn't
Japan.
hit the States for much longer.
It didn't hit the States probably until 2017, 2018, but it's a 2013 game. It's incredible.
Yeah, so it's just like, it's hard to think of a game that does more with less.
Yeah.
Because it creates incredibly difficult decisions because you have these 4 actions. And the third and the fourth, it's either I offer 3 cards, you choose one, I keep the other 2, or I do 2 pairs, it's an I split, you choose. Yeah. My opponent gets to choose first. So it's it's hard to guarantee what you're getting. It's really difficult. So you have to try to create scenarios where you manipulate your opponent into taking the thing that you really want them to take. So you get to keep what you actually get to keep because you kept this card over here as a secret, or you burn these cards over here, so you're the only one that has that information.
Yeah.
It's so good. Hanako Geo, 2013. Check it out. Tiny game. You can take it anywhere with you. It is incredible. One of the best 2-player games of all time.
Indeed, indeed. My best is 2013 is my favorite game of all time, and that is Viticulture. Now, this is kind of weird because there's been 3 different versions of Viticulture that came out.
This is the original.
This is the original. So we're just calling it for here because it just makes it easier. But this is Viticulture First Edition.
This started the ball rolling down the hill.
They came out with Viticulture Second Edition, now Viticulture Essentials Edition, which is basically the only one you can buy. So it's but it's Viticulture. Viticulture is my favorite game. It's incredible. You're running a vineyard, and this is coming from 2 guys, again, who don't drink, but love viticulture. And it's
fun to run a vineyard.
It's so fun. And so it's a worker placement game, shocker. And so you have a main board that has the different parts of the main vineyard, and then you have your own little vineyard that you're running. And so essentially you go out here, and it's broken up into seasons. Summer, and then winter if you're playing the base game. If you're playing with the Tuscany expansion, spring, summer, fall, winter. And essentially you're putting workers down in the different seasons, and then once you're done with that season, you pass, and then once everyone passes, you move on to summer or winter or wherever. And it's a very tight game, and it's very fun, and you just are trying to create the best vineyard you can for what you're trying to do. You can be trying to put out a bunch of different orders. You have wine orders coming and say, I need a level 6 white and a level 8 blush wine. And you're like, okay, so you have to get the vines that you need so you can get the kind of grapes that you need so you can squish them into juice. And you can turn that juice into wine, let that wine age.
Right.
And then you can complete that order.
And sell it.
And you can complete big orders, or you can have a bunch of $2 Chuck, just crank out a bunch of craft wine.
Works.
Whatever. And it's just really, really fun. I love it. I've just always been intrigued by this game, and it's my favorite game. I love it so much.
It's Stone Meyer's greatest product they've ever created. I know a lot of people probably prefer Scythe over it, but I think Viticulture is the best game they've made.
Yep.
It's incredibly fun, especially if you go Tuscany, especially if you go more visitors, because some of those visitor cards are so interesting. It's probably the most interesting specific thing in the game are the summer and winter visitors.
Yeah.
Because they allow you to break rules and do different things.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a good game.
It's great. It's incredible. Anyway. So Viticulture is my favorite game, and that's my favorite game in 2013. It obviously had to be. But let's move on to 2014.
Joe. 2014, game that's incredible. So beautiful. We have chunky bits for. I love it. I actually like the art style, and I know that I'm kind of alone in that.
You're not at all, actually.
Indeed. Orleans. We've gotten a lot of play out of this game before even getting Orleans Invasion, which is the co-op variant for it, which makes me love it even more. But the original one came out in 2014. It is a bag builder game where you're putting these different chips, these different they're your followers, actually.
Yeah.
Into a bag, and you pull out, depending on how many you're allowed to pull out, 4 or 5 or 6 as the game goes on, into kind of a little holding area, and then you're going to assign them out to different action spaces, sort of like Paladins of the West Kingdom today does.
Yes.
You're putting different workers out to then travel around the area, picking up different materials like cheese and cloth and things like that.
And
wine. You're moving up these various tracks, a scholar track, you're acquiring knowledge and things. You're putting buildings out, all sorts of different stuff. There's really a lot of directions to go with the game. And then Orleans Invasion just takes the next level because it makes a very hard co-op where you're working together against sort of objectives. Orleans is just a beautiful game because you're doing this bag building and you're buying these workers. You're like, if I have a bunch of farmers, I have to pull out farmers. It's like all deck builders and stuff. Like, I got to pull this out.
You got to do it.
And then you just don't pull them out anyway. And then you're forced to adapt. Okay, what do I do now? I can do this over here. This will maximize over here. This will get me this resource and stuff. There's just a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Orleans, 2014, fantastic. I love it. I love it so much.
It's great.
My game of 2014.
It really is good. It really is good. My game of 2014 is a game that has my favorite art of any board game ever in it.
I thought that was Orleans.
No, not Orleans. Okay. Unfortunately,
Sure.
Yeah, pretty positive. And this is a game called Abyss. Now, Abyss
basically
is
the same art.
It's more or less the same art. No, it's the same art. But Abyss is a game that takes place underwater in the abyss.
Very cool world.
Very, very cool world where it's this really kind of political world where there's a bunch of different lords and there's a bunch of different type of like sea creatures. There's like the farmers, there's the politicians, there's like the warriors.
Crab warrior people.
There's like the merchants, and you're essentially using
mages.
Pearls to essentially try to get set collection to then get these lords, and these lords will give you points, and then some of the lords will have keys on them. If you get 3 keys, you get to get a location, which will just give you more points at the end of the game.
Yep.
And it's a very, very simple game, ultimately. You're only doing 3 things. You can, draft out cards from up here to get a follower of, there's, different, allies of, the farmer faction. There's allies of, the political faction. You're trying to get those allies because those are what you're going to need to buy those lores. You're essentially trying to buy...
influence.
Yeah, you're just getting influence.
Yeah.
And that's the points of this game are influence points. And it's just so gorgeous, but it's so simple, and I've always really loved the game. And I've always liked it a lot, but then there's always kind of one part that felt kind of like, and that was the part where when you're drafting out these cards, sometimes you can draft out monsters. And when you come across monsters, you decide to either fight it or not. If you fight it, you essentially get something on this sliding scale of rewards, or you can just pass it by. And that's it. But it's like this big sea slug monster thing. You're like, man, I wish we could fight this thing. Well, then they came out with the Kraken expansion. Sorry, the Leviathan expansion. Kraken expansion is a different expansion.
is also there.
The Leviathan expansion, which basically fills out that part of the game. Now you have these big Leviathans that you can go fight for different rewards. And it took a game that was already 80% complete and just went and put in that last 20%.
It does fit perfectly.
It does.
Now it's there, you're like, this had to have always been here.
You gotta think that Bruce Katuko's had it in his head, you know?
Might
And
have.
so it really completes that game, and that has just skyrocketed the game for me. Even more than it probably still might have been my top for this year, but now with that, it's definitely my top of this year, even though that expansion didn't come out that year, but whatever.
Yeah, well.
But Abyss is
We
incredible.
loved the game before Leviathan.
If you haven't tried it, give it a shot. Set collection, simple game, gorgeous. Oh my gosh.
Simple, beautiful. It's beauty and its simplicity, and it's simply beautiful.
Yes. Ooh, good call. Good call. That's a good way to end 2014, Mikey. Let's hit up 2015.
Let's get it.
This was the worst year. 2015 was the worst year.
From here on out in the decade, these lists start to really hurt.
Yeah, this one hurt more than any other one.
I want to apologize to all the games that we're not going to mention in this video. That's why we're going to do a subsequent series.
We're just we feel bad. We want to talk about all these games.
We're leaving so many amazing games off the list. But 2015,
It had to happen. We had to choose.
a game that recently captured my heart, and it captured my heart.
Push back on this one a little bit.
No way.
You never played it.
I have played
never
it.
played
It
it.
is called Through the Ages.
Never played it.
I have played it, but I've only ever played it on the digital app. But I have
You
played
played a
literally-
great video game. You have a video game that you love.
Not at all. It plays exactly like the game. I can get a total feel for the game. I've played 200 plus games of it. I feel like
really
that's some
have
experience.
You love this game, man.
I play it most days still. Wow. At least one game, because I can play it in 20, 25 minutes.
love it. You love it so much.
Freaking love Through the Ages. It's so good. The new expansion, the Leaders and Wonders expansion is absolutely incredible. Through the Ages...
It's a Civ game.
It's a Civ game where it's all card-based, where you're going through ages kind of 1, 2, 3, then ending in 4. You're progressing through time. You are getting different leaders like Cleopatra, and then Napoleon, and moving forward to Einstein and things like that, or Bill Gates. And you're building different world wonders as well. Much like in all the Civ, it's based on the Sid Meier's Civ games.
Yeah, it's like Civ 6 or something like that. Yeah.
You know, it is that in a board game, a card game, and it's different. You're building up different engines of food to increase your population, or building materials, or science to be able to develop more technologies, or culture, which is ultimately your victory points.
Yeah.
And you have to keep your population happy. Things like that. You got to keep your military strong enough so that people don't start declaring war on you and crushing you. It really is all of those Civ games in a board game. It is incredible. It's so fun.
Big, thinky, heavy, crazy, deep strategy.
Yeah, it's so hard.
It's great.
It's so good.
It's a great video game.
I want to play the physical game. I'm not scared because I want to do it for real, man. I feel like I played it.
The second you play the physical game, I'll stop giving you crap about how you never played the game.
Well, I'm gonna do it to shut you up, if nothing else, man. No, but I want to try it. I want to see how it is. I know it's probably a little too fiddly to be truly worth it because the app makes it so easy. But Through the Ages is my favorite game of the year.
It's so good of 2015. 2015. So 2015, Through the Ages is a great game. It really is. I love the app. It's wonderful. I don't play it nearly as much as you do, but I do like it quite a bit. 2015, my favorite game. This one was tough, but my favorite game is Shakespeare. Shakespeare.
Pretty good game.
Is my favorite game of 2015. This is a game that is this is one of our 2 evangelism games.
Oh, yeah.
Games that we tend to talk about a lot and try to get people to play a lot because we're like, no one talks about this game enough and it hurts my feelings and I want them to play it more.
It's not appropriate how little people talk.
Shakespeare is one of those games. Sorry, the dogs are barking. It's distracting me.
I know.
It's such a good game because dogs aren't allowed in the theater. But nonetheless, it's a worker placement game, and I will defend that. And you are essentially putting on a play. You have different actors and actresses, different players, and you have to costume them so that they can go out on stage because they can't go out on stage if they're not costumed. And again, it's one of those kind of excruciating worker placement games where it's like, I have so many things I need to do to get this play out,
do them all.
and I will not. So what is going to go? Like, am I just going to have a very minimalist set? Am I just going to have 2 chairs and everything's going to be in the audience's imagination? Am I going to have kind of ratty costumes, but hey, they're dressed, which means they can get on stage, but they're wearing rags. It's like, or am I going to work on Act 1, start off strong, keep it here, but Act 2 and 3 are going to suck. And it's so hard to get everything done. It's such a tight, hard game.
Yeah.
And this game was outstanding. We loved it for years. And then the Backstage expansion came out. It's a tiny little expansion that packs such an incredible punch. And it really, kind of like Abyss, I feel like just finished the game. I thought the game was great without it, but then it just, boom, just finished it. And it is so good. And it's
painful, man, in the good ways, the ways you want.
Yeah, best game of 2015 for me. And that is saying, again, watch the video when we have our 2015 one because that is saying a lot. That is saying a lot. But I love it. Shakespeare is incredible. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I love it. And that's our best of 2015. Ooh, we're starting to get close to 2000 this year.
We gotta go to 2016 now.
Let's do it. Another good year. God, this year sucked too.
It hurts.
Oh, man.
It's really bad.
Let's go to 2016. This year was hard.
It was particularly brutal. But for me, I had no choice but to choose
yours
what
is
I chose.
easy, yes.
I had no choice. I ranked it #1 overall. I can't push back on that now on a whim.
Yeah.
I know. I'm a man of honor. Obviously, it's the best game of all time. It's the best game of 2016 or whatever year it's in. It's Feast for Odin, baby.
Yeah.
Worker placement to end all worker placement. Get out my face. You are Vikings. Do you want to kill? Go kill. You want to hunt? Go for it. You want to whale? Obviously, it's the best strategy. Always whale. Only ever whale.
I never whale because...
You want to get boats and immigrate them? You want to go to islands?
Yeah.
Do you want to farm? If you must. Do you want to go to the mountains and get resources?
You want a pig factory?
You want a pig factory? Do it. With the Norwegians expansion, which is essential. Then you must play with Norwegians. No. Feast for Odin is a game that offers you about 60 worker placement spots.
I think there's at least 60 spots you can go to.
You have a pool of workers. It's an Uwe Rosenberg game where you are putting your workers, your Vikings, out, and depending on what actions you want to do, you might have to put 1, 2, 3, or even 4 workers out, but you get some pretty powerful actions for 4 workers. And you're trying to fill in this little square area with different tiles. So you're trying to upgrade tiles from red to orange, or orange to red to blue and green. Or green and blue rather, and put these things out and fill it in, which is where patchwork came from. It's just trying to put these all weird polyomino shapes together to be as efficient as you can. And there's just lots of different directions to go to get those different tiles to put into your board. I mean, you could just, in theory, choose a different strategy and go for that strategy game after game after game, switch
That's what
for
I
a good long while.
Yeah. That's more or less what I do. Every single time I play it, I'm like, I'm just going to try something else.
And so it's fun because it feels very in the Viking spirit because it's all about exploring. You're exploring different strategies as you're exploring different lifestyles as the Vikings explored the world, It sings to me.
Yeah, it does. This is a game, again, I played without you,
Yes.
and I instantly was like, Mike has to play this game.
You knew.
I knew you were going to love it.
had a sense.
I didn't know you were going to love it quite as much as you do, but I knew you were going to love it.
Can't help that it's the best.
Indeed. Actually, it's funny because my best of this year, 2016, is the exact same situation where I played it,
Yes.
did not think I was going to like it, ended up loving it. It was immediately like, Mike has to play this game
Now
because
it's
Mike is
one
going
of
to
each of our favorites.
love this game.
Right.
And my favorite is Great Western Trail. That's my favorite of this year.
So good.
It's a game that, like, God, I thought I was going to hate it. And now looking back, I'm like, I shouldn't, because I say it a lot where it's like, I don't like Western themes. Well, I don't dislike Western themes. They're just not my favorite theme.
You're not drawn to them necessarily.
No, not at all. It's just kind of like, whatever. Like, pow, 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 I'm in a saloon. It's just, I'm like, cool, whatever, fine. Sure. But I really love frontier themes. Like, frontier themes where it's just like, panning for gold. I'm out of the West. I'm like riding my horse. And it's like, and there might be a bit of like pow, pow, but it's not like a, spaghetti Western kind of thing.
Right.
And that's ultimately what Great Western Trail is. It's a frontier game. It's about wrangling cattle. That's it. You're not shooting anybody. No. There are like Native Americans, but you're trading with the Native Americans. You're not
Very
fighting.
peaceful.
You're not fighting with them or anything. It's great. Like,
it only helps you in the game.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so like you have a hand of cattle. It's a deck building game. You have a hand of cattle, and essentially you're making your way up Rondell style up to Kansas City, and then you sell your cattle and you ship them to one of the cities. And then you go back to the beginning of the board, you make your way up, you go to Kansas City, sell your cattle, and you just keep doing that throughout the whole game. That's all you ever do. And you can only ever sell unique cattle. So, you don't want duplicates of the same. So throughout the board, when you're going through the board, you're stopping at different buildings. You're essentially trying to buy new cattle, put out new buildings, trying to manipulate your hand to get a wholly unique hand. Because if you have duplicates, only one of them will count towards the income.
If you have three green twos, you
only
only
one
have
of them
two.
count. Exactly.
It's not great.
So and it's every time I play it, I like it more and more and more and more. And then we got the Rails of the North expansion.
Railways to the North, yeah.
Railways of the North expansion. And it just took it even more. Because again, kind of like Abyss, like I talked about, like it took my least favorite part of Great Western Trail, which is kind of like the delivering the cattle part. Because delivering the cattle part is just kind of like whatever, how many points you have in cattle, you can go that far down the line. And now you have this whole big branching area at the very top, and there's like all these different places you can go. Yeah. And it took a part of the game that like I didn't hate, but I was kind of like, whatever on. And made it so much more. And I'm just like, and more, I'm just like, man, this game is climbing. It's definitely my top 10, and it's moving its way up. Like it may be top 5 material for me. Dang. It's getting up there. It's incredible. Great Western Trail is so good. I love it. Thought I was gonna hate it. It's got a horrible cover, but I love it. I love it with every ounce of my being. It sucks because the Railways of the North cover was fine.
It does. It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
As is the regular cover.
Oh God, get out of here. But that's 2016. That was a good year. Oh, man. Watch that on the series because this is a tough time to do. Good. This list sucks, man. It sucks.
I know. It hurts.
It hurts.
You only choose one, man. That's the rules.
So let's get through
we set for ourselves.
I know. We set this goal for ourselves. Let's get through it. Let's go on to 2017. Best game of 2017.
Let's do it. 2017. Another year of absolute pain and joy because there's so many good games, but we can only choose one. And for me, it's a game that I just right away loved, and it just grows. And it's not the most complicated game or anything, but like
it's good. I
really love it. And there's like I think a couple of like small expansions I really want to get for it. It's a racing game ultimately called Rajas of the Ganges. Rajas of the Ganges, where you are trying to sort of balance your money and get kind of an economy going, while working up a bit of fame for yourself. Yeah. And the game's going to end when you manage to make these two tracks cross. Just like that. So you can decide to focus more on the money side, the fame equally, whatever's good for you, whatever gets those things to cross is good. And it's a worker placement game where you're putting out your different workers to get these tiles, and you kind of build them out matching paths, Carcassonne, Karuba style, back to your palace that are going to give you markets, which will allow you to go sell from those markets and get money. There's different buildings, which will be award you fame the second that you put them down. You're building these buildings, and people are like, whoa, you're a great architect, good job, man, or whatever it is. And you're getting your fame, and as you build these paths to the kind of edges of your little personal board, you'll get little bonuses as well. So it's a lot of it centers around buying those things, but then you can also work your way up a river for like one-time perks. You're rolling out dice. All of your workers are dice, and 1 through 6, all of the numbers can be incredibly useful. Yes, because you can only move up the river with 1, 2, or 3. Yeah. You know, these certain areas on the top left of the board all require a very specific number. You know, if you want to become first player, you got to put a 1 down. You get a little bit of fame. You become the first player. Stuff like that. So there's something for every value die to do. And you're using the dice to purchase those tiles and stuff as well. So it's just a beautiful game. Like the art's really gorgeous.
Yeah,
the dice
gorgeous.
are chunky and gorgeous. It's just fun to build out your little paths, to work on, you know, your money versus fame tracks. Like, it just keeps on delivering. Every time I play it, I'm just like, oh, that was a fantastic experience.
Yeah.
Every time I play it, I'm like, well, I didn't like that any less than last time. That was very fun. I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Rajas of the Ganges is my game of 2017.
Yeah, it's really incredible. It's great. It's great. Cool theme, great game. The brand's the best.
So good.
My I almost said best of the week. My best of 2017 of that week is Wendake. Wendake is a game by Renegade Games that I feel like has gone completely under the radar. It came out and we literally had never even heard of it. We were at Gen Con last year. We saw it on the shelf at Renegade's booth.
What is that?
We're like, what is that? That's got a cool Native American theme. What is that? And then we walked up and we were talking to Mandy Hutchinson, who was working at the booth that day. And we're like, what is this? And she's like, oh, it's really good. And she was telling us about it. And we were like, we never heard of this. We like bought it instantly because it seems super cool and it's great. But basically, Wendake is a game based around Native Americans of like kind of like the Michigan region, the Wendat, the Wendat people. And it's very, very cool. It's very respectfully done, which is awesome. You know, it's like everyone's in long houses because that's the kind of houses they use in that part of the world.
Yeah.
Cool. And it's super, super cool, but it's a area control action selection game, but the action selection is very interesting because you have your own little player board.
Tic-tac-toe board, a 3x3.
Just thick with 2 C's. And essentially you have these 9 tiles in your little action selection board. And essentially you can make tic-tac-toe style a row, a column, or a diagonal. And essentially means if you do the diagonal, you're going to do this action, this action, this action.
Or middle, side, whatever. You can do it in whatever order, but you have to execute a line.
Yeah, to execute a line of some way. And then when you use those, you turn them over. And then the other side, there's a much more basic action that you can do. Yeah. And then at the end of the round, everyone's actions slide down. So the ones that are on the bottom fall off the board and then will flip back over and go to the top. So your board's constantly doing this.
And you're also buying new tiles each round that are better, more powerful actions.
Exactly.
So you're getting rid of old tiles, putting in new ones.
Yeah, so your actions are varied and getting different than everyone else's. But then on top of that, you're like, you don't necessarily want to do like the top row because then they'll all flip over and then it's going to go to the middle row, then the bottom row, and then it'll come off and then they flip over. So it's really excruciating being like, oh gosh, it's like that would be really useful. But then like all those actions are gone and they're just essentially clogging up space in your action lines.
Yeah.
And it can be tough. And then on top of that, there's a cool like area control part where it's like nice because like you don't have to fight each other. You can just like live peacefully in the same spots, but then you might injure people to get them out of there so that you can like take over different resources. So it's just cool. It scales well. It's an incredible game that
it's a game ultimately about balance too.
Yes.
Because there's 4 tracks, 2 on top of the board, 2 on the bottom. And you're only going to score the lower of the 2 on top and the 2 on bottom. So you have to work on everything.
Yes,
you
at
can't
least a
be
little bit.
overtly militaristic.
Yeah.
Because if you get your military to 27 and you're trading only to 7, you only have 7 points.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to work on it all, which is a really cool thing. And I think there's like a beautiful message in there about kind of balance of life.
Yeah, totally. It's great.
You know,
and it's a big game. It's crunchy. There's a lot going on.
Yes.
It's pretty heavy, and it's just
a lot of
great.
bits.
And no one talks about it, and it's a crime. 2017, Wendake is my favorite game. I freaking love it, and more people should play it.
You'll keep singing its praises until people play it.
Yes, indeed.
That is Wendake.
2018, and we're starting to get to modern times, not this ancient crap. You know?
Games people actually heard of now.
know.
Ooh. Let's do 2018. Things change. Things change,
Not
Nick.
for me.
Not for you, but for me. So when we did a recap of the best games of 2018, I originally had a different game in the slot, a game that you're going to mention in a moment. But since then, I've played this other game.
To be fair, did we even play your game in 2018?
I think once.
Okay.
One time. And it wasn't enough to kind of really understand how amazing it is.
Great.
And especially now that there's an expansion, it's even more Delicioso. It is Teotihuacan, City
So
of the
good,
Gods.
Teotihuacan.
Teotihuacan by Boards and Dice is a fantastic dice placement, dice worker placement game where you're kind of going around a rondel around the board, which have different action spaces, 8 different action spaces. And on your turn, you're going to choose one of your workers, and you can move them 1, 2, or 3 spaces forward, and then execute that action.
Yeah.
And the level of your die, you're never rolling the dice, you're just placing them and powering them up. If I have a level 3 die, 5 is the highest, 1 is the weakest, the least experienced.
Yep.
If I have a level 3 die and I go to an action to get space to get wood, I might get this like middle column, so I'll get a better version of that action. Furthermore, if I have another one of my workers already there, and say they're a 3 as well, and I bring a 3 in here, now I get to do a different row because I have 2 workers, which gives me access to even better actions. Now I have 2 3s, so I'm now the 3 column with the 2-person row. So you're trying to like get all your people together, but you kind of need to stay spread out because you can't just work on one action. You kind of gotta get your wood and stuff so that you can then ultimately build buildings and work on the pyramid and stuff. So it's just, there's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm particularly great at it. And there's this kind of whole cocoa currency. As you're moving around, if you're going to spaces that have other workers there, you got to pay cocoa. So you're trying to stay away from people. So there's just like so much to think about. And you're like, what direction do I want to go? Do I want to work on the Avenue of the Dead and put out these buildings for some end of round scoring? We play 3 rounds.
But it's interesting because like what you're actually doing in the game, like the vast majority of the game is you are moving a die, doing whatever's on that spot.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's literally it. Now all the spots do something different, but they're not that confusing.
Well, like the wood, stone, and gold spaces all work similarly.
Exactly.
It's like
it's
you're getting those
really
resources.
not that complicated game, but man, this game is deep as hell.
There's a lot to think about, to say the least. There's a
lot
lot to think about. And with the new expansion that adds player powers, different modules, a 4th type of temple, because you can work on these temple tracks.
We haven't explored all the
You're
expansion
ultimately
yet.
trying to go up various tracks a lot of times.
Yeah, a lot of
And work on the pyramid to get points and stuff like that. So there's just like so much to gnaw on. I played it once, like, ooh, and then I played it twice, and I was just like, yo, what is going on? And your game that you're about to mention is still incredibly high ranked, but like, Teotihuacan just has my heart for the moment.
Yeah.
It's seized it since the 2018. So
yeah, it's climbed the ranks for me too. It's incredible. My 2018 game of the year has not changed since last year. We've been YouTubing for a few years now. So last year we actually did a top 10 games of 2018.
Go check it out.
My number 1 is still the same, and that is Castel.
It was our co-number 1 last year.
Yeah, so it was a co-number 1, and it's still number 1 for me. I love Castel.
So good.
It's incredible. This is a game where you are Castellers? Castellers, yeah. Castellers, and you are in the Barcelona region of...
in Catalonia.
Catalonia region
of Spain.
The coast of Spain. Barcelona is one of the cities, and you're essentially a troop of Castellers going around performing. If you don't know what Castellers are, they are the people who make those human pyramids, human towers in Spain.
Yeah,
and so,
nutty.
what a cool theme, because it's just a cool, different theme.
Yeah.
And essentially,
they really do this a lot.
They really do. Go watch YouTube videos of it. It's insane. And so you basically are going around to different regions of the board, recruiting new Castellers. Like, I need some more big, beefy dudes and ladies to be on the bottom.
Pyramid.
Like, I need some small kids to put on top. And so you're going around recruiting people and then putting on shows. And essentially, each round, there's going to be a show in Mataro. So you then have to go travel to Mataro and get there and then put on a show. And then that show will require you to have certain things. Like you need to have, all the Castellers are ranked either 10 all the way up to 1. So like this show, you have to have 4s and you have to have 6s. So you need to make sure you have
in your pyramid. You have at least one of each.
At least one of each. And so then you go and build your pyramid as well as you possibly can. And you get points for how many of those numbers that you have. So if you have 4 4s, you get 4 points. And then how many tiers your tower is. Yeah. But at the beginning of the game, you can only build like a little 3, 2, 1 tower, like a little kid's tower. That's all you can do. But as you go throughout the game, there's all these rules that you have, but then as you go, you start training. And as you start training, then your tower can be a little bit wider, which means it can be a little bit higher. And you start training all these different things that start breaking those rules. And you can start having these big, crazy towers, and they end up being giant. And then you can put on local performances, and the thing about the game is hard and really puzzly. Like really trying to figure out how do I get the people that I need to build the tower that I need to build and also get to this part of Spain because that's where the competition is impossible. And it's just breaks your brain, and it's so hard for being not that complicated of a game, and especially doesn't seem like it's going to be that heavy when you first play it.
Well, it's the beautiful thing of like, it sets you up with very strict rules, and then immediately you gain access to break all the rules. And so you're like, well, how do I want to break the rules? What do I want to do?
Yeah.
And how many times can I break this rule?
Yeah.
And the thing that's really cool was at the start of the game, something we talk about I love, you have all the information up front.
Yeah.
You know exactly where the performances will be and in what round. You play 10 rounds. You know what numbers those pyramids are going to need. You know what you need and where you need to be when. And it's up to you to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
There's no surprises in this game.
No, none.
You know, other than round to round, every other round when you refill the pool of available castellars to hire, that changes and stuff. And that might change your strategy a little bit, but you know what you need to do. You know what special local performances are available for you to do, so you could go that route. It's all up front.
Yeah.
If you win or lose, you have only yourself to blame.
Yeah, it's tough.
There's no chance whatsoever.
Everyone has the same information, same opportunities as you.
Yeah.
It's
So
great. It's
fantastic.
so good. Again, another Renegade game that has gone completely under the radar. It's so cool. It's so good. Castell is my favorite game in 2018. I still love it. It's still great. It's incredible. Please go play it if you can, because it needs more love.
Do it.
Indeed.
We have one more year.
Okay, gosh, 2019. This year, we're talking about this year now. Let's do it. Let's just
give you just a taste of this year.
It's time.
We're here now.
We're
to now.
We're now.
You're in now. When?
Soon.
Soon.
When will then be now? Soon. Great movie.
Freaking A, man. Spaceballs for the life. Anyway, 2019 is here. It's time to start our recap of 2019. So we're going to give you just a game that we quite like.
Yes.
And be forewarned. We're going to do a full top 10, a proper full top 10 of our top 10 games of 2019.
Like we do every year.
We have a fat list over here of games to try to pare it down to, but I think we do have our number one, at least as of now. This could change by the time we do the full on, but if you don't want it spoiled, you can skip ahead to go like 2 minutes to the end, and we'll probably be just yabbering on about subscribing and stuff like that. But,
Indeed. But so if you don't want it spoiled, don't watch this one, because we will have a full top 10 coming out in a couple weeks. Indeed. But just want to warn you, we're going to tell you our number ones right now.
Time to find out what's the best game of 2019. You want to know the answer? Paladins of the West Kingdom. I'm not going to wait.
Boom.
I'm not going to wait to tell you what the
Now
best
they're
game
screwed.
is.
They're like, oh no, I heard it.
Yeah, I know. No, they had time to get out. Paladins of the West Kingdom is the best game of 2019, period.
It's good.
It's a fantastic game. It is in the kind of new line. They had like Raiders of the North Sea and Explorers of the North Sea. Then they had
It's
Architects
called
of the West Kingdom.
Occupation of the Direction Games.
Of the Direction Games. So we had Architects of the West Kingdom. Now we're still in the West Kingdom, but we have Paladins of the West
We have
Kingdom.
Raiders of the North Sea. Yeah.
Yes. And Paladins of the West Kingdom is a...
It's good.
Oh, man. I talked about it earlier. It's kind of like Orleans, where you're putting different color workers on different spaces, some of which require very specific colors. Some you can put whatever color you like. So you're trying to get a kind of a pool of workers to then put out on these different action spaces. And there's kind of 3 sets of things that are sort of have a symbiotic relationship, because you're working up these 3 tracks. You're working up a strength track, an influence, and a faith track. So on one side, you have something that you need to have a certain amount of influence to do, and it's going to give you faith. And then meanwhile, on the other side, you're going to need a certain amount of faith to do. It's going to give you influence. So they kind of feed into each other in theory. We have these three different tracks, and it's kind of one of these games where it's like, focus on a couple of them. Do not try to do it all.
Don't try to do it all.
Because you only have so much time. You only have so many workers. And it's all about putting your actions out to kind of maximize what you can do. There's certain things that allow you to get more workers when you put out, you do a commission. You put like a little monk dude out on a spot that's going to give you 2 more workers. So it kind of extends your round. You can do these develops, which will allow you to cover up certain spaces. So now instead of costing 3 workers to do this action, it only costs 2.
Yeah.
Or even down to 1 specific worker. So you can make that very easy to do. So you can do it once or twice, maybe per round. So there's like all these different areas to kind of focus on, and it's so fun to try to put together the puzzle of like what to do to be as efficient as possible. And I am not good at it.
Yes, that's accurate.
But I love it.
Good at it. It's great. It really is. It's a very, very satisfying game, because in the middle of the round, you can constantly do things that get you more workers, which
So
can
good.
then extend your round. And then
Yes.
you do this to get 3 more workers. And now I can use 3 workers to do this.
Yes.
This will give me a blue worker. Now I can do this to trade.
This
more,
guy needs
get
a
more
blue
money.
worker over here.
And it's like, and it gets incredibly satisfying. But in terms of like the occupation of the direction games, it's
best.
by far the heaviest.
Yes.
I honestly don't know if I like it more than Architects yet. I think I do, but I'm not 100% positive. Mike definitely does. I like it better than Architects West Kingdom. But it's
the
definitely
heaviest.
the
I love
heaviest,
it.
for sure. I really like it a lot. It's not my favorite of the year. It's definitely up there. But it might. You love this game.
So good.
Yes, you love
Paladins of the West Kingdom is one I was looking forward to.
Yep.
Started here whisperings about it being really good and really different from Architects of the West Kingdom, and it is incredibly different from Architects of the West Kingdom in a beautiful way. Paladins is a game I just want to keep exploring. I can't wait for them to start busting out expansions or something for it. Just give me...
There's the Architects expansion coming out soon. I'm like,
Yes, give me more and all of it. I want it. I want it right now.
Yeah.
Give me it right now.
Yeah.
Paladins of the West Kingdom, best game of 2019. Per me, for now.
Indeed. My favorite game of 2019 is, I mentioned a theme that I really, really, really like. I find that I really like, and that is Frontier themes. And it goes to show because Sierra West is my best game of this year. This is a game, it's by Board and Dice, who also make Teotihuacan. That company, Board and Dice and Rainer, are like, they're knocking stuff out of the park. Now, whenever we have Trismegistus over there, which is really good too, and it's like they're just crushing like the kind of heavier games. Even not the heaviest games ever, but like medium to heavyweight games are
Not
crushing
light.
it. No. Sierra West is a game that stopped me in my tracks.
Yes, it did.
I was at Origins this year.
One of the best covers in the game.
It's
Perfectly
beautiful.
honest.
It's legitimately beautiful.
Gorgeous.
It's like a painting.
Yes.
Which means all covers are painted, but it's like it feels like it's like just an oil painting. You know, it's like
Anyway, sorry.
But nonetheless,
Stopped you in your tracks at Origins.
It stopped me in my tracks at Origins. I was just walking, and I literally went, "What is that?" And literally exactly that. And I just like awkwardly watched people play for like a minute.
What are you doing?
And then I was talking to Rainer, who works with Boards and Dice, and I was just like, "Can I have this?" And he was just like, "No, it's not out yet. It comes out of Gen Con." And I was literally like, "What do I need to do to get you to give me this game right now?" And he wouldn't do it. So then we played it at Dice Tower Con, and I was instantly
Rainer,
just like,
with
Rainer, he talked to us, and I was instantly just like, "I love this game." And then we got it.
Yep.
And I
So good.
absolutely adore it. So it's a slight deck building game where you're building deck. You're essentially slotting cards behind your player board. Your player board has these little fingers sticking out. And when you slot cards behind there, those fingers are going to cover up certain spots on the board. And then it's essentially going to make two tracks, the brown track and the green track. And you have these little meeples, and they're essentially going across the track, and they're coming across different action spaces. And you're just going and you're just activating the different action spaces.
Like getting different resources.
Exactly. So where you put the cards really, really matters because you're essentially then choosing the actions you're going to do.
Yep.
And you go through, and then there's parts on top of the cards. So once your meeples get to the end, they then can go up to the top of the cards to do like a little bit of a worker placement-y type thing. And then on top, so you're doing all that, you're getting different resources, you're going up these different tracks to get points. They're very into tracks at Board and Dice.
Yes, yeah.
And you're getting resources, and you're building little buildings and stuff like that, which give you like little bitty special powers. But then there's this whole other board that has this giant, beautiful like pyramid of cards that makes a big mountain. And those essentially are better versions of cards. And you go up, and it's like Pyramid Solitaire style or Seven Wonders Duel style, where your traveler
Marching
can
up a
travel up the mountain. When it lands on a card that's face up, it can then shovel out that card, excavate it, and then that card goes on top of your deck. And then, if that frees up two other cards, then they would flip over. So then other cards become available, and then the mountain kind of goes away as people get more cards. And these cards are like better versions of the cards you have.
They're also specific to a certain module you're playing.
Because that's the other part I love about this game, is there are 4 different modules you can play. In the end, the game plays out more or less the same, but the first one is all about getting apples. You're getting apples. There's two other tracks. You can go up the apple tracks. And then the next one is all about banjos and fishing. Weird. There's like a whole part where you find this dueling banjo dude, and you got to go dueling with a banjo. It's great. And the third one is all about mining for gold. You have this mine cart going on.
I love that one.
And the fourth one is all about finding bandits up in the hills and fighting them. And it's just like they changed the game just enough where it's always different with the 4 modules. And then on top of that, the base of the game that doesn't change too much is incredible. And from the first time I played it, we got it home here and we started playing it more. I was instantly like, this is my favorite game of the year. And it hasn't changed. Yeah. And that was back in the summer.
And basically half the year you've said like, I don't know if
anything's
going to take it over.
Nothing's taken it over yet, and nothing has. Sierra West is my favorite game of the year. And I pretty much knew it from the moment I saw it at Origins. Awesome. I stopped and went, that's my favorite game of the year. Just like, I was instantly just like, what the hell is
Sometimes
this?
you can just sense it.
Yeah,
when you know, you know.
It was the same with Viticulture. This is my favorite game of all time. Like, I was obsessed with that game before I even played it. I was just like, there's something about this game. I don't know what it is, and it's my favorite game of all time now.
Something in the way it plays.
Exactly.
It moves me like no other worker.
So that is our top.
Something in the way you move to fall.
That is our.
I don't
top
want to
game.
make
I'm
no
gonna keep going.
wine.
That's
Don't
our
want to
top-
sell the wine. Lost everyone now. Anyway, that's our top 10 games of the decade.
It is. That's what I've been trying to say for a minute now.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. That's the top 10 games of the whole decade. It has been a good decade, I would say. You know what? It's been the best decade.
It's been the best decade of gaming. I think, and that's not, the hobby has grown so much.
Yes.
In the last 5 years, let alone decade.
Yeah.
The first half of the decade set up what we are in right now. This
Yeah.
golden age where there is so much content
Yeah.
coming out. There's so many games you literally can't keep up. Things like when Dake go under the radar.
Yeah.
Castell goes under the radar. These great games. And it's a beautiful thing. I love that about the times. I know it's a bummer when those games kind of do get overlooked, but there's always, for any game that gets overlooked, there's someone that's evangelizing out there
Yeah.
for it. So listen to people. If they say, like, I really, really like this, especially if they know you, and they think, like, you're going to like this game, give it a try because there's so much stuff
It's
out
so
there.
good.
The games have
Yeah.
never been better than they are now. I cannot wait for the next decade. Can you imagine this 10 years from now, doing this recap again?
Make sure to subscribe because 10 years from now, we're going to do this exact same video.
We're going to look back on this one and be like, wow, they are young.
If we make it to the end of the century, we'll do a games of the century video. I like Seven Wonders.
Yeah.
But
Were you there when
nonetheless-
they originally were built, old man? Yes.
Yes. Hell yes. So I thank you for being here. This was awesome. So as we said, we are going to be doing a video series. The videos will be much, much shorter. We're essentially going through like our top 10 games, basically the 10 honorable mentions.
Talk about, other great games from those
Yeah,
years.
actually, it may not even be 10. It's just going to be other great games. It's going to be very quick, probably 10, 15-minute videos. We're going to go year by year. Those will be coming out from now. And then it will culminate in our top 10
I
games
know
of
there's people out there
2019.
like, for real?
For real? For real.
Scythe?
That's
Terrified Mars?
what you're saying?
Ever heard of it?
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, there's some games out there that
saying
we
that.
left off that are
Bangers.
Bomb.
Indeed. So we're going year by year, and it'll finally culminate in our top 10 games of 2019, which will be a full top 10, just like this is, that we do every single year. So again, you might have the number one spoil, but stick around for all the
It
other
might
ones.
change by then because we have a couple games we're going to be playing between here and there.
Indeed.
So, hey.
But thank you so much for being here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit that thumbs up button. And please, please, please share the video.
Please share it. That's the best way you can help us out there. We have Patreon and all those things like that, but sharing with a friend to get it out there to new people, especially as we're looking back on a decade of board gaming, a decade of this amazing hobby. Please share this around so we can get the discussion going with everybody. We should all be participating in this great discussion because it only happens once a decade.
Once a decade. And down in the comments, let us know what games we missed. I guarantee there's a lot. Trust me, there's a lot. It was a very difficult list to make. Put
your
it
best
down in
of
the
the
comments.
decade
What's
down
your
below.
best of the decade? Go year by year, just like us. Boom, 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 boom. And check out those other videos that we have coming out because there's a lot we missed. There's a lot we missed.
We had to leave off.
But thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And I think that's it, Mikey.
That's it, man. I've been Mike Murphy.
I'm Nick Murphy.
Thank you for joining us for this Decade Rewind. Have a great day.
Oh, such a good decade.
Such a good, what a decade.
What a decade.